If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is heard on WNOV 860 AM and W293CX 106.5 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, WWDB 860 AM in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and WAAM 1600 in Arbor, Michigan.
This is the Garden Lady, C.L. Fernari, taking you back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show with your hosts, Joe and Holly Bear.
Let's go to the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Garden Hotline and bring in our next guest, Holly.
Julie Thompson-Adolf is an obsessive organic gardener, nature nut, adventurer, animal advocate, and seed lover. As an experienced gardener and garden writer, Julie is best known for her brand and blog, Garden Delights. She practices seed-to-table-to-seed approach, starting her plants from seeds, creating delicious meals and beautiful bouquets from the harvest, and then saving the seeds to plant in next year's gardens. Her new book, Starting and Saving Seeds, Grow the Perfect Vegetables, Fruit, Herbs, and Flowers for Your Garden, is available in bookstores or online. At Amazon or and be in Barnes & Noble. Right, your favorite online book retailer. So welcome to the program, Julie.
Hi, Holly and Joey. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us, to talk to us and educate Holly and myself and all of our listeners about starting and saving seeds correctly.
Thanks. It's really kind of gets addicting after a while, too. I mean, I'm a complete seed addict, and once you start learning how to save your own seeds, it really turns into kind of a fun obsession.
Well, let's start with the basic question that maybe an uneducated or hobby gardener might ask. Why do I need to save seeds? Why is that important? Why can't I just go to My Gardener or my seed store and purchase the seeds I want each year?
Sure. I mean, there are a couple reasons, that's really a great idea to start saving seeds. There's kind of the whole overarching reason, which is, in the past 200 years, we've lost 94% of our food crops, basically, our fruits and our vegetables. So there's that whole idea of preserving biodiversity and really maintaining foods that are, culturally important, too. So not only are you saving, delicious food, but it's also kind of a cultural thing that, you also want to preserve that biodiversity for our earth. So that's one reason. A lot of people say, it's great to save seeds because you save a lot of money, which is true unless you're a seed addict like me and have to try every variety out there. So I save a ton of seeds, but I'm always constantly, looking for a weird heirloom that I haven't grown yet. So, for me it's not that true, but, for normal people it probably is. You do save a lot of money doing it. And then, of course, there's that whole idea of self-sufficiency, the whole idea of having that seed to table and then back to seed and into your garden approach, for folks that are into homesteading, or just that sense of pride you have of growing your own food to feed your family, and, you can show off to your friends and neighbors when you prepare a great meal for them and be like, hey, yeah, I started those seeds back in February in my basement. So, there's a lot of reasons. It's a lot of fun.
Now, you said we've lost 94% of the food source that over the last 200 years. When you refer to that, does that mean, for example, there was 1,000 types of green or 100 types of green beans that were 200 years ago, and now we've really only got 6 varieties that has not been lost over time? Is that kind of the math or equation?
Kind of like that.
Okay.
Kind of like that. I mean, and I think some folks have done a great job really tracking down families that have, a certain variety. And I think about in South Carolina, there's a watermelon that was basically kind of going, not necessarily extinct, but really difficult to find. And the Bradford family, they are the family that's known for preserving that seed, and people now go to them to try to kind of grow that in their garden and, maintain that plant to make sure that we don't lose that one too. That's just for instance. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what is the biggest misconception about saving seeds?
Probably that it's really challenging, that it's super difficult to do, and it's not. But the biggest misconception I think people do is they think end of season, I'm going to go and save seeds for my garden. But if you're really trying to work hard to preserve pure seed, you need to start thinking about saving seeds early, when your plants are starting to bloom, because that's when we end up with cross-pollination. And it's, it sounds so difficult, and it's not at all. It can be as simple as you need to isolate those blooms so they're not cross-pollinated between, for instance, peppers, or if you're growing lettuce, for instance. People grow a lot of varieties of lettuce because who wants to eat just, butter crunch? So you need to maintain those flowers that they aren't cross-pollinated with other varieties. And that can be as simple as putting a really fine mesh bag over that flower, marking it, saying, these are the seeds I'm going to save, letting it, develop into, in the instance of lettuce, develop into the seeds, the flowers and the seeds, and then taking that bag off. Or with the pepper, as soon as it starts to set fruit, then it's okay to take that bag off, but leave that little tag on there, because that's the fruit that you're going to save seeds from that's not cross-pollinated. But that's all in the book. I mean, it sounds really challenging, but it's not if you have a resource that you can look up and say, okay, here's what I need to do. So it's, it's not hard. It's certainly not hard. And it's a lot of fun.
So for people who are having problems germinating, as Holly and I do, herbs such as rosemary or lavender, what are we doing wrong? What are some tips that you can advise all of us on to get better germination rates on some of these hard seeds to sprout?
It's patience. Oh, my gosh. There are tips and tricks to do it. But I am the same way. I mean, when I don't see my seeds sprouting fast, then I get really irritated. I'm like, come on, it's time to have some green. But for the instance with rosemary and lavender, that takes a while. It takes about 21 days before you actually see germination. But there are some tricks, like both of those really like bottom heat. Some seeds, so if you have a heat mat, and I always say, please get, a heat mat for growing plants, so you don't put a heating pad under there and get it wet and electrocute yourself or something. Just invest in a good heat mat, and it will last you forever. So bottom heat, some seeds like that. Some need light germinate, like lettuce, needs to be sown on top of the soil and just pressed gently into it so that it can germinate well. It needs to have that light. Some seeds need dark, so they need to either be not under light until they start to grow. Some need a stratification period, or they need their seed coating nicked, which is scarification. So, you just have to do a little research, see what that seed needs, and then you're good to go. I mean, but patience is the biggest thing. I was given trillium seeds one time, and I loved them. They're beautiful wildflower. 2 years before you see any growth. Do you know how aggravating that is? I'm like, I need a little bit of a reward here before I see, a little bit of green coming out. So patience is a virtue, definitely.
Great. So we're talking with Julie Thompson-Adolf. She's an author and a blogger as well. So what are seed bombs? What is the significance behind seed bombs? Why are they becoming so popular? You see recipes. What's up with seed bombs?
Seed bombs actually began quite a while ago, with a Japanese gentleman made them really famous because he wanted to start kind of greening up some, different areas that were empty lots or fields that he wanted to start growing vegetables. So seed bombs are basically just a method of dispersal where you can make a little ball, maybe about a little smaller than maybe a golf ball size little ball, and it's comprised of clay and some compost, and a lot of recipes include a lot of seeds to put in the seed bomb, but you have to think about the seeds. The seed doesn't want to be overcrowded while it's trying to grow. So I usually put in maybe 4 seeds. Excuse me. And I think that the reason that they're so popular, you make them into this little ball and you let them dry, is that you can really involve your whole family. Or, teachers can involve kids in doing this too. Kids love getting in there, doing crafty projects. And then you can take them back. You basically make these little balls. You can stick them in your pocket, take them with you. If you see an empty lot, an abandoned field, you just drop them. Or if you see an ugly urbanized area that you don't see anyone owning that area, you can kind of lob them over a fence. And then, when spring comes and the little ball starts breaking down with the rain and the weather, you can take those kids back and say, look what you did. Look at those little flowers that are growing over there in that little vacant lot now. So it's really just a fun project. you have to be a little bit careful. You don't ever want to include any invasive species in seed bombs because that's just asking for trouble. Don't throw them on people's properties. You know, you have to use a little common sense, but it's a really fun project to do. And you can even, you know, make them as gifts for, we've done it before for, you know, ants and kind of teachers and things like that.
So be smart about it. Just don't lob things of invasive. Yeah. So we talked about the seed saving and the starting. Would you encourage a gardener of any level to start their own seeds, or would you encourage them to buy starts at the garden center? What would you say is better?
I would say that there's a good mix, honestly. There are some seeds that are hard to start when you're just getting started, and you don't want to get frustrated. So I would start with things that are a little bit easy. Basil, so easy to grow and so inexpensive to grow tons of pots of basil to have for the whole summer. When you start talking about like tomatoes and peppers, you have to invest in a little bit more time and learn a little bit more about them. But then you have such a huge variety open to you. So, you know, yes, maybe you need to buy a heat mat and, you know, some ways to get that all started, and some lights, because lights are super expensive. Or not super expensive, super important, sorry. Very inexpensive to set up just some grow lights. Very easy, $20 project in my book to set up a little light station. But I think the biggest thing is you know exactly how those plants have been raised if you grow seeds by yourself. You know that if you are into organic, then those seeds have been, you know, by organic seeds, raise them organically. There's no chemicals involved, whereas, you know, at the garden centers, you don't always know. Even if they're marked organic, you know, the folks that work there sometimes at the big box stores don't necessarily treat their plants as you and I would treat our plants. So I think that's really a great thing to be able to start them. I used to actually sell at the farmer's market, too. I would take my excess because, you know, I'm the kind of person that had to grow 184 varieties of tomatoes one year because I wanted to try them all, and I sold them at the farmer's market. So it also gives you a little extra cash in your pocket, too. It's a lot of fun.
That's great. Now, Julie, where can people find you, your blog, your book, etc.?
Sure. My book is online, Amazon, in bookstores, Barnes & Noble online, lots of different online options. My blog and my Instagram account are both Julie's Garden Delight, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook, both at Garden Delight.
Well, Julie, we greatly appreciate you coming on the program and sharing your knowledge about starting and saving seeds with all of us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. I appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate your time.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.